Dimp Digital presents Idle Game Chat.
Cool.
So Logan, as we closed out the last episode, which you won't have been privy to, I was speaking about Persona 4 Golden. So you can cast your mind back as to when that was recorded, because you was complaining about how cold it was.
Good lord, really?
And at the moment, we're talking about cookboxes being installed sort of from 11 o'clock onwards. It gets too hot in these offices and whatnot. Anyway, I gave my review for that. And I think you'd queried me saying, well, why are you playing the fourth one? You know, there's four others, or three others, sorry, at the time, and also a fifth. Why are you doing that? And I basically gave my reasons, saying that basically 1 and 2 are non-existent on modern platforms, and they're not really in the style of what they are today. 3, 4, and 5 are all available, so it's a choice between those three. And I kind of opted for 4 as it was a bit in the middle. But one of the reasons why I gave for not starting with Persona 3 was there was a rumour that Atlus were working on a Persona 3 remake. And that would be the more desirable way to play that. Given these aren't direct sequels, they're loosely connected with some little Easter eggs and whatnot, but they're not direct follow-ons in terms of characters. Well, we got the Persona 3 Reload announcement. So this was actually planned for the Xbox conference. Atlus posted it to their own Instagram page 2 days early. So they really blew that for Phil and Co. Letting that little...
I love that.
How does that happen?
Well, I don't know if it's intentional or not.
It can't be. It won't have been.
Someone blows the marketing in the marketing department, looks at the dates and go, "Ooh." Like it could be as simple as that, but
I know they're ahead in Asia, but not that far ahead.
Well, the cynic in me says they want the direct attention, maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Maybe it could be.
You sort of go to them, and you go to Phil, and you go, "Yeah, sorry, someone in marketing chuffed that.
Yeah,
hope that's okay. Kind regards." So do you know what I mean? It's kind of like gets framed as an innocent mistake, I suspect. But
so you're saying they did it on purpose? Interesting.
Well, I mean,
they're being accused in the first 3 minutes of the podcast, which is fine. We like to accuse.
These things are very rarely, usually quite tightly controlled.
They should be, yeah.
And they for good reason.
Particularly when the publisher and developer are involved, they're the ones that blew it. Like, we get the odd retailer leak where I don't know, like Tesco used to put up store pages or product pages for stuff that wasn't out and it had release dates, and people go, "Oh, they've leaked the release date." But that's a third party entity that's doing that. That's kind of not expected. You still would expect them to do better, but you can understand how that happens. When it's the actual people that are making the game are involved.
It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe I agree. We should do it on purpose, but it did show actually that my strategy has paid off. So
the rumour mill comes to fruition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I believe when we spoke about it, it might have been when you were deciding to do Persona 5 and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You were thinking, how do I go about this? And you said at that point, well, it's a bit clunky to go back and play that OG version, and there's rumours that they'll be doing a new one or a remade version, so you'll wait for that.
Yeah.
And it's nice when a plan comes together, right?
Yeah, particularly when it's all basically speculation. But no, that's coming to... So Persona 3 Reload will be coming early 2024 to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC. Switch.
Where will you play it?
Well, it's on that Game Pass.
Yeah.
So it's why not at this stage? It may as well be used, and I may as well play it on that. And I'll probably try and clear a schedule for that. That may take. It's going to take something pretty special for me not to dive into that day one. So I'm
surprised how much you've taken to something like Persona. It doesn't seem like your archetypal type of game.
It's got those stories as well, isn't it? Those bonds, those characters. That's what it's.
Yeah, but it's
And to be honest, the turn-based stuff isn't as intimidating as I just assumed turn-based games were. I mean, as I've mentioned before, Pokemon being the main experience and exposure, that's like kids' first turn-based game. Any old toss can get through that. But you know, they were not as difficult as I was expecting. And with Persona 5 Royal in particular, which I have kind of finished, I'm just doing some extra bits and pieces, just poking and prodding around the game before I want to sit down and talk about it. But I'm basically done with a run through of the campaign. They've got it into a place where it's far more playable. That's sort of the headline, and I'll discuss that more on a later edition. We'll sit down and get that out. But no,
sounds good,
exciting, and also it means that this metaphor, Refantasio, is that it? Fantasio, I think. That's been made by the director of the Persona 3, 4, and 5 games, and it's a fantasy setting. So probably going to be similar sort of structure, just with a completely different vibe to it. So that's now on the menu. That's looking to be looked at some point.
A whole
that's
new
ready.
world.
Yeah, and who knows if Persona 6 comes out in the next 5 years now. I mean, I don't know what they're playing at, but we'll find out. Anyway, I wanted to mention that because some people have gone, oh, hang on. He said there ain't a remake yet. And I was like, well, it literally happened the day the freaking podcast went live, so it was unavoidable. But there we go. That's our little opening bit. Let's break out and introduce the podcast. You've got Apps here and Logan, who I'm joined by, the current FGL Grand Prix winner, and he's competing for the coveted FGL Championship. This is Idle Game Chat, Dimp Digital's flagship video game podcast. We chat a little bit about the industry and then usually end the podcast with a impression of a video game or hardware or something of that ilk to close out the show. So it's a grassroots independent endeavour. So patreon.com/DimpDigital is the main place to go to join the community. Hashtag hands in them pockets. But if live streaming is your thing, twitch.tv/DimpDigital is the place to go. Lots of Destiny going on with Hall at the moment, who clearly hates it, but just can't pull himself away from playing Destiny 2. I said it back in 2013 or whenever the first one, 2014, whenever it was. I said this is a syndrome, and that's how Destiny syndrome got installed, and it's still going on 10 years later almost.
Cured me.
Yeah, well, interesting that, because I didn't think it was curable for you. I feel like you sort of broke off after our Destiny 2 escapades, and that was it. Once the main crew had like just collapsed under the pressure of anger and stress, there was no going back for you. Whereas Hall obviously went back with smaller groups and also with Dave's lot to try and rekindle that.
It's hard when it's like a drug, right? When if you're surrounded by a load of other addicts, it's easy to get back into it. But I think at some point with most things, to be fair, you have to draw a line, especially with games. You have to go, right, that's done. I've done it with Warzone, done it with various things. You sort of just have to go, look, I can be brought back, but unless there's something phenomenal that happens. But every time, when Dave was streaming WoW the other day, I dropped in to say hi, and I said, what's this new Destiny update? And he was just like, well, and I was like, why? Like, when was the last time one of these Destiny updates come out or a new release, whatever it was, and everyone went, God! Like, it just doesn't happen. So, it's a shame. But there we go. Is it a shame? Don't know.
Well, we'll see, won't we? That's all coming to an end, that Destiny arc. Like, the light and the dark stuff that started in OG Destiny has been going on for, I said, almost a decade now. The final expansion next year is supposedly going to wrap it all up. And those that have seen the trailers...
I actually enjoyed. It wasn't a deep story, and it wasn't sort of like hugely interesting lore. But I quite liked, and I was involved, and I liked the original OG playthrough and the story. But as with most things and most of these series, if you keep it going too long, you go, right, this is getting out of hand now. And I think that was a problem with Destiny. And mechanically, it's a great game. Like, there's no two ways about it, but how long does that keep your interest?
It's interesting that Bungie, now owned by Sony and PlayStation by proxy, they there was actually some reporting which we didn't talk about a few weeks ago, that basically the live service push that Sony and some of their studios are going for are all kind of being run through Bungie to stress test and see whether it's got the legs on the back end to run as a live service. But I think the point you raised there is the key point. The reason for me, in large part, that Destiny succeeds is because of how well it plays. You can have the best supported post-game and battle pass set up in the world, but if the fundamental gameplay is not of quality, you're not going to keep people in. And
from a first-person shooter perspective, I don't think that there's many, if any, that do it better.
No.
Like, I love the way the game plays and feels, and that's what keeps you going through replayed content over and over again. It's not particularly the actual content and the way they run it. I mean, it's good that they change things up and the way that they've historically introduced new things, weekly challenges and all dailies and all that kind of stuff. They do that, but as you say, fundamentally it's the core gameplay that makes you want to continue, not particularly the live service elements. So that's a good point.
Yeah, and so that's going to be interesting when Sony starts dropping these live service games.
Yeah,
in my head.
Sorry, go on. No, I was going to say, when you compare that to Halo, like Halo didn't play bad though.
No, but Halo played really well. But it needed the Bungie eyes to go right.
Yeah,
you've got that bit nailed down. But you need to do this on your roadmaps and whatnot. They could have done with.
Can you imagine?
Which is ironic because they're the creators of Halo, which started off as a single player and like
bring them back,
a normal arena shooter, and it'd have been funny to have them cast their eye over that and say we're actually now the live service specialists. And
they must have been cackling at Halo. I mean, there must be something satisfying about not being involved in it and seeing that happen. Like, you must be looking over the road.
I'm sure there's some spitefulness that think that way and do it. But no, what I was gonna say was that it'd be interesting when these Sony games start dropping, because I just in my head, like 60-70% of these are going to end up in failure. So how does that affect your brand when you drop live service game X and it doesn't stick and it ends up in the toilet? Then the next time you do live service game Y, like how many times can they do that before the brand suffers? Even if they are still doing their single player stuff, which after Spider-Man, who knows what the fuck they're doing? Like, they've literally shown nothing for next year. I just think they're in danger of trying to catch the wave of live service, which is really difficult to do. And if you have like 2 or 3 failures on the bounce, what does that do for their image? What do people just say? Well, what's going on here?
It's funny with this whole live service thing, because I don't particularly like it, and I don't think many people particularly does.
There's not enough room for this many.
Yeah, there's that.
That's the problem.
Like fatigue, isn't it? Of every game. I mean, if I go through what's on my Xbox at the minute, I've got Warzone still installed, which is essentially live service, battle pass and things going on. You got Rocket League, which has done the same thing through Epic Games. They've installed all of that.
It's funny, isn't it? Rocket League, think about that. That landed on the PlayStation as an exclusive and was day one on PlayStation Plus. There was clearly a relationship there. Had Sony been in the frame of live service back then, they was in a great position to snap them up and do that. But Epic saw it and went, well, we'll do that then, thank you. And we'll do the same with, what's that other one called? Not Fall Guys. The Battle Royale one where you're sort of doing, it's almost like it's a knockout. I've played it anyway. You know what I mean. I'll find it in a minute anyway. But those two in particular both dropped on PlayStation as an exclusive and day one in their PlayStation Plus, and then they scurried away, and they would have been good live service games to have in your library if that's what you're looking to do. But their strategy was not aligned at the time. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, no, I've got Overwatch 2 sitting there as well.
What am I talking about? Second guessing myself. Sorry.
I thought, no, there's another one. There's so many of them now. There was another one that come out a little while ago that I thought you were referencing.
Well, it's Human Fall Flat, which isn't live service, but feels like a similar game to me. It's all physics-based and whatnot. But anyway.
Like Gang Beast style, isn't it?
Yes.
But, so yeah, I think even when I've got sort of like 5 or 6 games installed. What's that?
What happened to Gang Beast?
I don't know. Well, it just never evolved.
I was really excited to play that when I saw. I mean, we saw it at EGX Res, and I was watching those people play it. I was like, "This looks really like good fun," but
it just never. There was. It's something that you could play for an hour or two, and then you'd be done with it. I think that was the biggest problem with it. It didn't really have anything outside of that sort of core versus mode.
No. $5.99 on Steam now. Good lord.
Mental. absolutely mental. It's probably sitting on a console somewhere for next to nothing as well.
It's most likely been given away at some point, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'd think. I mean, one of the things being they didn't have online for a little while. I'm assuming they've got it now, but that was a bit of a killer. Local only.
No one's doing local only.
Well,
it's a nice option to have, but no one's doing it really.
No, and then when the pandemic hit, it removed that anyway, so you had to be online. So if you weren't ready by then you were really fucked. But
true.
Anyway,
so yeah, basically the point I was getting at is I've got 3 live service games already, and that at times, especially when I was playing all 3 at once, and I had Halo on there as well, and I was like, I don't know which one of these I really want to, because you need to dedicate time to it. Like if you want to progress in those battle passes and make the most of them and do the stuff, it really does encourage you to play it almost daily.
Yeah.
And there is
dailies to do, got your weeklies to do.
This is the point. You sort of get a bit fatigued by it, and you think, well, one of them basically takes the title, and then the rest fall to the wayside. So it is, I think there's a place for it, as we've discussed many times, but everyone seems to be going down that lucrative live service, battle pass, rocket pass, monthly, weekly part, like, because it brings in the bacon.
Yeah,
well, it brings home the bacon.
It's a tough one. Like, you probably only need 1 or 2 to hit, but still, that's easier said than done. When you've got the behemoths in there lurking, like the fact that Call of Duty came along,
shit, and that Call of Duty, they've all been shit. Like, there's not one that's been like knockout kind of good. And to be honest, I'd prefer to have certain cosmetics and things, and varying cosmetics all the time.
Yeah. To
buy like you used to on Fortnite, where it's kind of like something different every day or every week, and you can come back, and that brings you back. So you think, oh,
yeah,
maybe they've got something new, rather than you sort of pay all this money for a bloody battle pass and you're stuck to it, and you go, everything's is shit.
Yeah, not ideal. Anyway, Sony,
we have to move on.
Are, in my opinion, making some mistakes, especially after what we kind of saw that perhaps Xbox are finally going to get their arse in gear, considering the amount of stuff they showed off, which we're not going to go through for beta. Now, they can't be trusted. When Phil's still friend of the show. I think we was at our wit's end after Redfall, but Starfield could be the dawn of a new beginning, but that still has controversies. Just quickly, another tangent. This is a cup of coffee that I'm drinking here, just for people that are listening. I had one earlier. Yeah. So about 6 o'clock I had one. Okay. Mm-hmm. How often do you drink this coffee? Because on this second one, I'm struggling a bit. It's giving me a headache, I think. I don't usually have more than 2 a day for the whole day. But I feel like
got this here.
So Logan's showing off. What's that? What do you call that thing?
It's a French press or a cafetiere, right?
Go, posh.
So one of them's already been drunk. I've been up since about 6:15. So this is the second cafetiere. So basically, I have 4 coffees before work, essentially, when I'm working from home.
4 mugs?
Well, cups, yeah. Like,
mug. Yeah, but they say cups. Yeah. They mean those little tiny things, don't they?
Yeah, mug. Yeah, all right.
So that's about 3 cups, isn't it? Based on
I mean, it's but it don't. I don't get headaches. It really. I feel like I'm immune to it. I don't feel like it does anything nowadays.
There must be diminishing returns on that. Like, sure, on the third one, in 2 hours or whatever you're doing, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can have any more of this.
The thing is, I'll have these. I'll finish off this one probably within the next hour. I've only just made it, so I'll finish that one off, and then I'll probably won't have anything. I'll have a tea around lunchtime, something like that. I'll generally move on to cups of tea in the afternoon.
Right. Okay. Madness.
Yeah, I don't know. It started off as like one coffee in the morning, then it became 2. It's a slippery slope, this addiction to caffeine.
Yeah. I normally have 1 a day, but sometimes I'll have 2, depending on how I'm feeling. Anyway, that's idle coffee chat for the week. Quick little FGL update. We've got a couple of transfers just to log. We've got Paper, who's finally got rid of Homeworld 3, which, as we know, has been delayed out. He's installed AEW Fight Forever.
What's that?
That's the wrestling game coming from All Elite Wrestling later this month. Now, I'm excited to play it, but...
Is that hopium?
It's more just... It'll be fun to play that game because it's AEW. Not that the game's necessarily good or fantastic. So I'm not sure what he did say this is a risky one. I was like, that's a bit of an understatement, I thought to myself. But that, if you were asking me, and I have no insight other than what I play and what I've done before,
observationally,
that ain't going to score well. So as an FGL pick, I find it a bizarre one. That's mind over matter because he likes AEW as well. So I think he's gone for the, I like this, I want it to do well. He's trying to give that energy out to them. But
opium.
There's only so much energy you can give these games. If that scores in the 70s, I'll be amazed.
Wow.
Put it that way.
Interesting.
Like mid to high 70s, I should say. I think a low 70s is possible, but I think we're looking at high 60s for that. Or
interesting.
I don't know. I still want to get it. I mean, just want to play it because it's a wrestling game that actually looks like it could be fun to play, but it's very light on modes and like depth, and half the roster seems out of date, which is going to wind people up. So
is it a full? What are you expecting it? What's it costing? Do we know that?
Yeah, I think it's 55. So it's not the full whack 70 UK pound job, but that's still in the it's not 30 quid, is it? It's not 40 quid, which is where you would say, oh, you're clearly aiming at a lower market. They're still aiming for top dog, just they haven't done the Jim Ryan where it's $70, so it's 70 UK pounds.
I see that as full price at the moment.
Oh yeah, it is. It's in that window, isn't it? Anything over 50 really is a full price, and you're asking for AAA expectations, and that's where it can sting. That'll be on sale within a month, almost certainly. Almost certainly. Salmon has got rid of Moving Out 2 and transferred in the Remnant 2 or Remnant 2. Don't have much knowledge about that. Moving Out is gone from his list, but that's the FGL done. Now, there's a couple of different ways we can do this, and I don't want to rehash conversations we've had, but they are intrinsically linked. So I'm going to think of a different angle for one of these bits and pieces I wanted to talk about. First of all, Forza Motorsport and Starfield are both offering this 5-day early access jobby if you upgrade or buy the I think it's the premium or the deluxe premium editions. So if you're in Game Pass Ultimate and you do nothing, you have to wait until quote unquote the release date. If you upgrade, if you're in the Game Pass model, you can upgrade for a cheaper fee to like the premium edition of it, and you'll get early access, as they quote, in 5 days. Same with Starfield. So basically, it seems like they're trying to set a cadence. Bearing in mind these are their last big two games of the year, and Starfield's certainly the biggest for enthusiasts. To me, this suggests this is going to be a thing going forward for most titles, most big titles. So it's
just let me
get your head around it.
Yeah. So you can upgrade the version of the game, so you can pay more for the game to play it earlier.
Correct.
What's the Game Pass thing you got to do with it?
Game Pass says to me every time I load it up, says play these games day one.
Yeah.
My question is, am I playing them day one if they've been out early access 5 days that people pay for?
Right, so what you're saying is, if I'm a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, say, why do I not get to pay that early, that 5 day? Why do I have to wait 5 days?
Exactly. If only because, and it's not. It's an easy way to make a shitload of money off of money they're already making. I understand the business practice. Yeah. That is, but I'm saying it's because they market it as you're playing this day one on Game Pass. It's like, well, you're not. I know they're calling it early access, and that's how they'll get out of it and say, well, it's early access to the game. It's not officially out, but it is out. It is.
If people are playing it,
you're fiddling the terminology. That's all they're doing. And I
suppose they say day one. Day one will be the release date, the official release date that everyone can play it. Right? That's that in the way that they're phrasing it. The phraseology is day one is when everyone can play it, and it's officially out there in the shops.
Yeah.
If you buy, you're basically. It's almost like a bribe, isn't it? In some way, it's like, look, let me get this a little bit.
It's play on the FOMO and get people to spend on it. So in this example, if you wanted to upgrade just Starfield, say your Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate, you get an upgrade. It's £31.49. That's the cheapest you can upgrade it for, and that will give you the 5 days early access plus a load of other shit. There's like £32
to play it 5 days early.
You get more than that. You get more than that. So you get the story expansion. You get the 5 days early access. You get a load of skins and a digital artwork and that toss as well. But I mean, the expansion itself may well be worth 32 quid on its own or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And early access might just be a little extra bit. But it still chaps my arse that they do this because they're fibbing. They're just working around the words and changing what they mean. If the game's out 5 days early, that's the release date, innit?
Well,
it's being played. It's
a
being
strange
played.
amount of time. 5 days.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
Do you not think it's like 5 days? It's like, well, if it comes out on the Friday, you can play on the Monday. It's like, well, in days and years gone by, I would have been tempted by something like that. But
why not now?
Nowadays, I'm like, what's 5 days? Who gives a shit? It's not like I'm sitting here, feet up, waiting. For any game, really.
This is the blower, Logan. Look at this. So it comes out on the 6th of September, day one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, the 5 day early access means it comes out on the 1st of September. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a Friday.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. The whole weekend.
Dirty bastards.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
They know what to do it. I know it's a complete business move, but I think they're playing too fast and loose with this day one and clapping it in, going, look at what we're doing for you. It's like, well, you're not. At this stage, you're clearly not doing that. You're hoping that I stretch my legs in my wallet and say, well, I'm going to pay the £31, hope the story expansion's amazing and that pays for itself, and jumping in 5 days early. Because I'm going to be sitting there that Friday fuming.
You reckon you'll do it?
No. I'm not
Is
playing
that principle?
this principle.
Yep, I like that.
And also, I'm not being funny. Like, the game might be fucking shit.
Yeah.
I would never there's a good chance it won't be, but you never know.
There's a good chance it will be.
There's definitely not a 0% chance that it won't be shit, but it's one of those things where I just
Day one, can they be trusted?
No, exactly. They normally
genuinely. Yeah. They said it's the least buggy game they've ever released, but I mean,
ain't a high bar for them,
right? So, I think, especially with their games, they tend to. I mean, I haven't played a huge amount of them. Just from knowledge, they tend to age like fine wines. They get better.
Oh yeah.
As time goes on, they add things. There's additional content. I mean, there's still ESO content coming out, for goodness sake. They're
still adding stuff to original Skyrim. Not original Skyrim, but in the new versions they've released, the Anniversary Edition and all that. They've added like new bits and pieces to that. They've started, infusing mods, community mods that have been quality of life improvement. And dropping them in. But it just
it is dirty bastard stuff. I don't like it. I don't like the idea.
It's not a crime against humanity, but that's what I wanted out of you. It is dirty bastard stuff.
Makes you feel like a pauper. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like you're one of the peasants. That
Can you argue though, when you're getting that sort of value, technically? The Game Pass value we've talked about.
Well, this is what I was going to come back to. The argument from Phil would be, well, you get to play it, I mean, for nothing when it comes out 5 days later. So
I agree with that.
What are you bitching about?
I agree, but I just don't like this whole clapping in day one celebration.
Paywall.
It's nonsense.
I don't like paywalls, basically. Broadly speaking, I don't like that. So, it does feel like dirty bastard stuff. But... Phil's got to get some money back. There's going to be a Red Owl after Redfall, so...
Yeah. I think there was like 1 million people that bought Forza Horizon 5 in the early access period.
What?
So it works. And that's not even... I mean, it's a popular game, but I would expect Starfield to crack all over that. So, I mean, Alan in the boardroom's gone, well, let's do that again.
It's money printing. Yeah. They're literally like, this is free money, why would we not? And you go, well... Yeah.
Can't argue with that. I wish Phil was a little bit more transparent and said, look, we know it's not really day one anymore. It's day 5. But you're still getting great value because you're getting this for 12 quid a month or whatever. And it's like, well, and then I go, okay, Phil, you're right. I'll happily just take that concession.
I wonder if they'll gradually...
well, do we need to get the lawyers
erase
involved?
That phraseology?
Do we need to get the advertising standards people in and say, well, they're advertising this is day one, is it? And get them to have a good look at it.
I mean, I don't think you'd win that. I think they've been very clever with their terminology, but it makes you wonder whether they would, rather than saying, I don't know. I mean, obviously the big selling point of Xbox is that on release date their games are there. But I wonder whether they might at some point reconsider that position and go, it'll be on there 5 days after release or something like that.
It's not as sexy though, is it? You can't slap that on a day one Game Pass sort of reveal.
Yeah, I mean, it's very true.
On
the
day
way that they've done
5
it
on
is
Game
essentially
Pass.
marketing.
Yeah,
It's a 5. You could put it one way. You could go, if you pay more, you play it on release date, or you wait 5 days for it to go on Game Pass.
Yeah.
That sounds shit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But they go, early access, bonus.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, wow, is it? It's all
Interesting.
semantics, isn't it?
Yeah. Be interesting to see whether they introduce, I don't know, a new tier of Game Pass where you pay an extra £5 a month and then you get scooped in with these early acts. They could do something like that to try and upsell people.
I don't think they'll have enough. I want like
Probably.
an elite tier. Xbox Game Pass elite.
Yeah. We'll see.
Maybe
Anyway,
we should work in their marketing team.
I wanted to, well, can work in their operations team and sort these games out, I think. But anyway, we're on to a new dawn of Xbox, hopefully. But I just wanted to moan about that. It is semantics. But I just don't like this clapping in of day one when it's not. As long as people say, yeah, we know what they're doing, when they acknowledge it, but people don't. And Phil certainly won't. He needs to come on here and explain that to me.
What would you do if we actually got Phil on here?
I'll say, what's that mean? What's day
We
one
should
really
do some
mean?
sort of outreach, I reckon. Like, we'll tweet him, going, do you want to come on the show?
reply, you never know.
Forget kind of funny.
I'll tell him I like Vampire Survivors, and he'll be like, "Oh, he's played like
Positive
200 hours of
reviews.
that." Exactly. Anyway, enough of moaning about Xbox, or maybe not, because one of the big talking points about Starfield, ironically, was that it's going to be running at 30 frames per second on Series X and S. Don't know how it's going to run on PC yet. They've put out some minimum requirements. I had a look at it, and it might as well have been binary code. So I need someone with knowledge to tell me and talk me through what that means to people. But I think I'm okay. So I need to position that. I think this PC here should be able to run it reasonably well. So from a personal perspective, it will get played on the PC if it's proven to be a silky port. And to be fair, Bethesda's games historically have always been playing better on PC. And consoles were kind of,
second best.
And that's just how it's always been. I mean, the PS3 version of Skyrim just didn't actually work. The longer you played it, the worse it got. And there's reports of people 50 hours in saying it's unplayable.
Bizarre.
It is bizarre. So we spoke about the 30 FPS debacle with Redfall.
Yeah.
I think this is different, and I'll explain why. I mean, Redfall in itself just didn't look like it deserves to be running at a lower frame rate. It didn't seem that ambitious. And they also came out ahead and said, yeah, it'll be there one day, we just haven't got time to do it, which begged the question of why are they chucking it out now?
Yeah.
My angle on this one is the 30 FPS on Starfield has obviously angered people, got up people's noses, but the counter is the game's ambitious. It's doing things that potentially, and this is all subject to change until the game's delivered in people's hands and they can run it for themselves. It's doing stuff that look like, wow, that's actually very, very impressive. So the question to you is, do we want to stifle, and I'm assuming that's all correct as well, so I'm making a scenario up here just for the frame of conversation. Would you rather they stifled ambition, let's say that Starfield is that ambitious title, just to get the frames on the console? Or can we move past that and say, okay, we played the game, we understand why, because of its ambition, that it's running at a lower frame rate, and that's fine with us.
Some points. How have Xbox marketed this console? Series X.
Well,
what is it?
They've pivoted. They haven't pivoted. They've stopped saying it, but it was the 4K 60 FPS, all singing and dancing monster that could gobble up
most powerful console ever.
Yeah, and guess what Phil will say to that immediately? He'll say, well, Starfield ain't even on PS5. It can't run it.
So, it's their bloody console. But anyway, most powerful console ever is what we've been told, right?
Until the next one.
And
it's such a stupid thing to say, isn't it?
It is dumb, yeah. But that's how they've marketed it and positioned it, right?
That's why we bought it in 2020.
And the simple fact is that you and I both know games are objectively better running 60 FPS.
Yep.
And it's arguably become the baseline, I think, for a lot of games. Now, whenever we've gone back and played anything less, we've both called it out and said that's noticeable, right? So I think what we're talking about is, and I get varied frame rate, by the way, is worse than fixed lower frame rate. Like, I'm fully behind that.
Well,
Oh, a £450 monitor sitting here can run up to 120, 144 frames 4K, right? In 2023. And what I'm being told is the maximum I'll get from that 144 is 30 on my console. The most powerful console ever.
yeah, but
Now, I get the ambition, right? And I'm fine if it's a huge, expansive game. Bethesda games historically haven't been graphically wow, right? I think so. You can't say that it's because they're stretching the limits of what's possible.
Would you
graphically.
not, with what you've seen, would you not argue that this looks a significant step up from their previous
It does, yes.
It still doesn't look, the models still don't look great, but the actual world and the environments do look incredible.
So I would agree. It is a step up from what I've seen from them before. It's not, they haven't just gone more of the same. Like, and I'm not saying it looks shit. Like, the footage I've seen, it looks good, right? There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying I've been blown away in terms of like, it's like this wow experience, but it does look good, and the environments look good, and it looks expansive, and I like the detail in the cockpits, the aeroplane, the spaceships, shouldn't say aeroplanes, but spaceship. Like, I like the attention to detail, but fundamentally, and this is, I'd be interested in your perception of this. It's No Man's Sky plus Destiny.
I would say this is more No Man's Skyrim.
No Man's Skyrim, I like that.
That's how I'd position it, because it's a Bethesda game, and through and through. And the shooting, I don't think it's going to be as good as Destiny. I don't believe.
No, and I don't think. But if you merge the two, you've got something ish, I think, like that. And I mean, I don't know what No Man's Sky runs at, but I'd expect it to be running at better than 30 now.
Oh, yeah, but that didn't look.
And Destiny runs at. I'm just saying that, and they're two different games, and if you merge the two together, you've probably got something more ambitious there anyway. But objectively, I feel like, and I think it's an easy cop out to say, oh, because it's ambitious, it's okay. Like, I think fundamentally, when you're building a game nowadays, you should, especially something like Bethesda, should be saying, we want this to run slick. And I think one of the big criticisms that I had when I played Harry Potter to start off with is the fucking frame rate that did my head in. I had to pull it back to performance mode to get something acceptable. I just don't. I fundamentally don't like games that run at a lower frame rate, especially something like a first-person shooter or something that requires a first-person shooting to be running at less than that.
You'd go third-person in this.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to then play around the game like that to cater for the. And the thing is, a lot of people are going to have Destiny syndrome with Starfield, right? Because they want it, and this is what you're battling up against. And I don't have that. I want it to be a good game. I want it to do well, and I want Xbox to have a successful, game. But I do wonder. There's a lot of people that want it to be good, and there's a lot of people, and it should still be a good game. Right, I'm not saying I don't think it. I think it will be a good game, but is it going to be a generational game? Is it going to be one of these?
Might be.
And I think that's where I wonder. And I arguably, simplistically, if you've got a PC, you're laughing. I think, but if you haven't,
we think so. We don't know. Yeah, I mean, it could be that even on the recommended specs, it runs poor.
It's your best chance. At least you've got a chance.
You've got it's all you're asking for is a chance, and that is the chance.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, I'm just a bit. It just worries me when games come out now and say 30 frames is all you're going to get day one. Like, it just feels like you're
spoiled
instantly.
brat.
Well, yeah, but it's become the standard. I mean, this console maxes out 120. Like, going from playing even Rocket League on my old console and old monitor to now is just like chalk and cheese. Like, the frame rate, whether we want to accept it or not, really does matter nowadays. Like, because so many games run at, between 90 to 120 frames, Like going back, imagine if you played Call of Duty like Warzone, and you went from playing Warzone and hopped over to Starfield.
That's your own fault. You shouldn't be doing that. But
no, but my point is, you would instantly notice the downgrade in performance and the way things work. And I just think.
But you'd also notice how expansive it is compared to
agreed
a shooter.
Agreed.
It's
yeah.
They are. I know what you're saying. It's tricky though because it's. It does look like it's going to be exceptionally big, and there is system upon system upon system upon system implemented. If it all comes together in the right way, like there's going to be nothing like that. And honestly, if they execute this, it will be a generational game. It'll be one of the games of the generation. If they don't stick the landing, it's a different story. But if what they've shown, it's close to what they've shown, and it comes together and is it simply will be, I think, based on what I've seen. And also, you mentioned about the syndrome. The syndrome will make it so anyway. So it would take a real bot's job, I think, at this point for it not to reach that level. I
just think it's a bummer.
It is.
It's a bummer.
Of course, it is.
But I don't think it should be. I really disagree with the idea. That
but what if they can't get it?
Excuses.
What if they just simply cannot get the consoles up there because you're paying 450 quid versus up to £1,000,
Agreed.
if not more.
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be that gap there. It's just that for a while it seemed like it closed slightly. And I don't know. My feeling is that this will happen more often. Is that you won't?
Yeah, I think it's piss poor from my. I think the problem Microsoft have got is that they've pushed this whole most powerful console.
3-year-old marketing, mate. It's done now.
They've pushed all of this. They've been working on this game for years. You either push it as a PC game. I mean, I don't know why this is. There used to be games that come out on PC. And they went, you ain't having that console. Like,
would you rather that?
If that's the best way to experience it. And they should say, look, this was a PC game. It's been built for more powerful machines. But they can't say this because this is the most powerful console ever. But anyway, and we will adapt it and have adapted it so that console players can play it. And because of that, you haven't got the technology. You haven't got the capability to run it at the same level. So we've had to basically lower the resolution or lower the frame rate. We've had to do certain things and make certain concessions to make it available. But they could never position it in that way. So the way they've positioned it is they're going, we're doing you a favour. For the best experience, we're going to lock it at 30 day one. But obviously on PC, you can go and do what you want. So they've done it the other way around. But it does feel like the best way to play this is going to be on a PC because it's got more grunt. Like the PCs are undoubtedly, as you say, you're paying double. At least, if not more, like for a PC, you're going to be getting more than what you get in this little box down here. Like, and I'm fine with that. But I just wish there was more transparency, and I do think that it's just not. I mean, you can accept it from publishers and developers that aren't AAA, but I just don't think it's acceptable to release a AAA game as a 30 locked at 30. With no option to do anything about it.
What if this was 2027? And the
future.
So we're in 2027, and Starfield comes up then. It's 30 frames. Would you not say at that point, well, the Xbox is 7 years old? Like, what can I realistically expect it to do?
Don't be releasing. I just think we've moved on from this.
I don't think we've
moved on.
No, we haven't.
We should. I think
a little taste of it. And
I've moved on.
It's roll. Well, you ain't, because the games aren't going to let you move on. They're going to roll. This is all going to roll back. Come 2025, you're going to see this. I think more often than not. There's even rumours of not rumours. There's data out there showing that Final Fantasy 16, which is a demo out now for people. I think it's the first 2 hours of the game. The performance mode on that doesn't run at a solid 60. It's jumping all over the place.
So I just don't like it.
Well, it's technology, isn't it? This is what happens when
it's much better.
All the games we had that you've referenced, not exclusively, but most of them were made also for PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah, great.
So at that point, you're already building for a lower level of technology. You probably can't be as ambitious. Final Fantasy 16 is not coming to PS4. Starfield's not coming to Xbox One. But these games that are for this generation of tech only, I think you're going to see this more and more. And I think, yes, it was advertised as the all singing, all dancing 4K 60 FPS monster. But we know technology in game development moves on so quickly that yesterday's tech is not even relevant in some eyes. So I think honestly, next year and into 2025, this is going to be more of the norm. It's going to be back to how it was. And then
I may well be in the minority, but I fundamentally think that frame rate is better than resolution.
I agree as well. Yeah.
And as I say, I might be in the minority, you might be in the minority, but
probably.
I think games are fundamentally better to play when they run better, not when they look better. And I've got the capability for both. So it's not like I'm sitting here going, well, I just want what works best for me. Like I could easily do resolution, but I always go to performance because I think the game is just better played in those ways. And I don't like this idea that we should be... Sorry, you can probably hear the bin men in there. The lorry needs a bit of WD-40 on it.
Yeah,
but I just think it's just a better way to play games. And
it is.
I don't like this move towards resolution over frames. I think that's my overall gripe with things.
Yeah.
I'm not shitting on Starfield. I don't want it to be crapped on. I want it to be good, and I want people to enjoy it, and I want Xbox to be successful. But just concerning.
Well, like I said, I think this is going to be the norm. What's interesting is that here's what I think will happen. Crystal ball bollocks now, so complete nonsense. PS5 will have a Pro Edition out, maybe not next year, but the year after next. And what will happen is developers will lean on that upgrade to have the 60 FPS modes there. The vanilla PS5, they'll say, well, we can't be asked to optimize it down for that, or we can't. It'll be the excuse. So I think there's going to be a gap. There'll be a PlayStation 5 Pro that has a 60 FPS performance mode option. Vanilla PS5's 30, probably at a lower resolution as well. And what's interesting is that Phil even came out and said that a Series X Pro or uplift isn't needed at the moment. He did say at the moment, which I think, tomorrow we don't need one.
No.
But I think there would be a market there for them later on in the gen if things start to drop down in terms of the frame rate standard. So it's interesting that he said that when the big game that's come out is running at a 30 FPS, which is clearly a sticking point for some people. But we'll see on that. But that's what I think will happen, is that you'll get more and more of these 30 FPS locked experiences. If you want the frames, you either go PC or you buy a PS5 Pro, or if they do crumble and get a souped up Series X, then you go and get that. But so I guess the question is, to wrap this one up, is that it now? Starfield out the window for you because it's running at not a desirable because it is more of a walk-in. I will say this, and I'm not using the term walk-in sim as a horrible term. I love them, but the way they show it off makes it like a full-out action game. They're not full-out action games. They're RPGs that are built around questing and exploring and things like that. So a lot of the time you are just wandering around, and in this one you'll be flying around. But is this like a no-go for you now? Is this it? Starfield dropped in the bins?
Far from it. Okay. I mean, historically these aren't my kind of games to play solo. I haven't done the Fallout, so I haven't done, any of that. I mean, I won't say no, but I'm not sitting here eagerly anticipating to play it day one or 5 days early or anything. I'm going to watch some of the gameplay, I think, when it comes out, watch some of it get streamed and see what I think of it and see whether it's the sort of thing I want to play or not. But I'll go back to what I said before. I think Bethesda games are fundamentally better sometime after release than day one anyway, so I'm not that fussed about it.
No. I'll definitely be looking for how it performs on PC and whatnot.
Yeah. I haven't completely ruled out PC at the moment either, so...
Well, that one that I think Hall posted is actually pretty good. I mean, it's not cheap, it's 4 figures. So that, again, that's the sort of minimum that you're looking to spend, so it ain't gonna... But then you should see an uplift in performance for that, but there's all...
I don't have I mean, the laptop's dead.
Yeah,
it's all intents and purposes, it's gone. I don't want another laptop. I don't need another laptop. So the next logical place to go is PC. I've got the monitor for it now. So it's starting to make more sense than it did a couple of years ago, and obviously got scuppered by prices in the pandemic and whatnot.
Ridiculous.
But it's, I think I'm starting to come around to the simple fact that if you want I'm reluctant to say the ultimate experience, if you want that,
you've got a better chance of getting it over there.
Yeah.
I mean, you haven't got a guarantee, because we've seen
reality.
some dreadful ports, which Salmons to this day denies, even though the evidence is there for everyone to see. They've had some shockers in the last year, 18 months. But those that are produced and done well, you can't compete. Like, it will just run and look better.
And I've got zero interest in keep upgrading these consoles every 3 years. It's wearing me out.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think...
Should have got a Series S and gone, look, I know I'm getting sub-performance here, and then I'll accept anything I'll get given.
No, I don't like the idea of buying something that's not top tier, what's available. But yeah, I think, it's probably going to be the way of things. And if that's the way things are going, I don't want to, if not everyone can stick their hand in their pocket like that, but I'm fortunate that I potentially could. So yeah, I think I'd be much more open to that than, having to trade in consoles or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because actually, again, they've been doing the rounds, old Xbox, Phil and co. There's all sorts of comments and quotes we could have pulled from today. But one of them is that Phil's saying, quote, the PC audience isn't a window, it's a market that deserves our games day one. So they really are doubling down on the PC side of support. And I remember we spoke about the financials that came out, and they were saying Game Pass subs have kind of... they're not growing as quickly as they were on console anymore. They feel like they're getting towards the upper end of that, but they see PC as a real growth market. And I wonder whether that will be now the focus going forward. They kind of got their console pipeline locked down. And it's like, what can we do to get more of those PC fucks over? And, Game Pass in itself doesn't lose any intrinsic value being on PC. That's still a great deal if you've got a PC only. Nearly all the games now are day and date on PC. And in fact, some of them, like Age of Empires and historically Flight Sim, go to PC first.
Yeah.
So are Microsoft pivoting to become, Microsoft/Xbox becoming more PC focused than console?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think things are definitely in a better place than they were a few years ago. And you got to remember, things like Flight Sim and whatnot were PC games. They weren't console games. Like, that's where they come day one.
Exactly.
If you wanted to play Flight Sim, you played it on PC. It was simple as that. So it's good to see that they're focusing not just on the Xbox as a console, but on the broader market. And I think it's the right thing to do. I think if you're looking at how you can bring more people on board and access a wider market, clearly you've got a huge pool of people there, bigger pool than if you just targeted your console like PlayStation tend to do.
Yeah, and you've got the advantage that they're selling their games on Steam as well, so they're not saying, oh, you've got to install our Xbox app. So if you want to buy it a la carte, you still got all those people on board, and also there's the synergy that Microsoft are Windows.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's that thing that it's just kind of all there on a plate for them. So actually, it makes
they got the advantage in every way there, like 100%.
There's all sorts they can do, but I'm interested to see how they do in that space. And there is a feeling somewhat that this Series X has been a bit of a blown purchase for me. I'm not going to lie, because it's taken effectively, and this just again assumes Starfield is great and good and whatnot. It's taken nearly 3 years for it to get to that stage, and it's been sitting there as a dust collector. And you say, well, you've been playing Persona it for hundreds of hours. I go, yeah, I could have played that on the PC though.
PC.
It's almost like now I committed to getting the PC. I really should have thought about whether I needed the Xbox, but I did it in reverse. I got the PC.
It's easy in hindsight.
Of course.
It's easy in hindsight.
And who knows, in 5 years' time, if that Xbox is still running and this PC might be well out of date, that might actually be the blower there. But there's definitely now a question in my mind: is next gen, if and when that arrives, is it just build a PC and be done with it? Use PlayStation as the console.
Ahead of the market.
Paper did drop the consoles and he went for PC. And now that Sony are shipping their games over a year later, I mean, could you wait a year? I couldn't, so I'd probably need the PlayStation. But Xbox make an easy decision by saying it's coming day and date everywhere, and most of our games will run better. Anyway, all interesting stuff. We'll close down this particular segment for the week. I'm going to give the guys Bayonetta 3. Adkins sat down and gave us his impressions of that. So that's what's going to close out the podcast for Idle Game Chat. Any final thoughts?
No, just that I agree with your assessment around basically the Xbox becoming slightly redundant in future. I think it may well do.
Maybe. I think there'll always be for people that want to have it, but
Yeah,
as an enthusiast that kind of invests quite a lot of money into it, I'm like, I could probably save myself $1,000. Like, in reality, I could. And what am I losing? Not
Very
a great
little.
deal. I'm
This is
losing
the thing.
I'm losing 4K because I've got a 1440p monitor, but outside of that, like it'll run.
Again, as we've discussed, though, do we really care?
No.
Is that really a
No.
blower?
No.
It's not.
No, I could get a 4K monitor if I wanted to, but then that comes with extra costs because you've got to have the rig to run it.
Yeah.
No. Well, look, we'll close out this segment, move on. Bayonetta 3 coming your way with Mr. Adkins. So we'll see you on the other side. Here we are then, back with a game report to close out this edition of Idle Game Chat, joined by the reigning Dimp Digital Gaming Quiz champion, the 4-time champion. I daren't say the reigning because there's every chance this doesn't go out to 2024 because of the backlog, and therefore you may not be the champ anymore. But
if you listen to an episode, it's probably about 3 years ago now. But when this was recorded, it was only last week.
We're both dead by the time we listen to
when
this.
Logan wanted to be named as the 2-time champion. I'm the 4-time champion.
Exactly.
But you'll have to get in the backlog for that because it's now 2025.
It could well be.
We're both dead.
We're both gone, so cherish these memories. Anyway, we're here to talk about Bayonetta 3.
Oh.
So the Nintendo Switch getting wheeled out of its wheelchair, and we're like, look, let's get this old boy out. Let's get Bayonetta on, exciting stuff, and get cracking on this. Let's start with the basics. The cards on the table as we usually do. We had to play it on the Nintendo Switch, so there's no way of doing that. Now, you have I would say, a pretty exhaustive history with Bayonetta and some Platinum games as well. If you're talking about the Astral Chains of Society on Switch, like these Switch-only games. But you fill in the folks. What's your thoughts on the Bayonetta series of 1 and 2, and then what's your thoughts of Platinum as a whole, and particularly some of the collaborations and partnerships they've done with Nintendo on the Switch?
My history goes back to the beginning. I think I have consumed every piece of media that Bayo has to offer. So you've got the 3 games, and they did a anime series as well, which I also consumed.
They did an anime series?
Yeah, they did.
Was it rated R for mature?
I don't think
it's
it
M
was.
for mature, isn't it? R.
Bayonetta rating. I don't vaguely... Was it a film? There was a film. It wasn't an anime series. I've lied to you. It was a film. It was an anime film.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the rating was. What was it? No, let's just give a score. I don't think it would have been that. Certainly not that raunchy. So I wouldn't have thought it would have been an 18, but it should have been because she does get her kit off a few times. You never see anything, but no. So yeah, from the beginning. I think it was. I can't remember if I would have been playing. It might have been one of my first Platinum games. Would have. Maybe Metal Gear Rising may have.
Yeah.
Possibly because that was a Platinum, wasn't it? But yeah. Anyway, yeah. So it would have been on that trusty 360 when I first played Bayonetta. Loved it. Yeah, thought it was brilliant. That had that. It was something to do with the geezer from Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
One of the team boys. But yeah. Yeah, loved it. Brilliant story. Very weird and crazy in anime. 2 came out on Wii U, so it was like, Wii U exclusive. Obviously, I never got involved in that.
No.
Many sane people didn't, except from Hall. Maybe Salmon. Salmon did as well, didn't
Salmon did, yeah.
But then, when the old trusty Switch came out, they done a 2 re-release on Switch, which also came with 1.
Yes.
a version of 1, and then they released a PC version, annoyingly, which was even better. But yeah, so bought that, and then played through 2. Really liked 2 as well. 2 was fantastic.
Better than 1 in your eyes?
No.
Interesting.
Some people do. Some people
Yeah.
do. Some people say it's the God's gift. I don't know. I just really like that first game. Sorry, the story was very good. It felt very compact and tight. And then 2 was a bit crazy. I was like, oh guys. 3 is even crazier. So so I played 1, 2, and 3, and then 3 got announced, and then we didn't hear nothing for 4 years. Was it 3, 4 years?
Long old time, because number 2 came out in I had it here a second ago, 2014.
Oh, blimey! So it was it the first? It might be the first or second year of the Switch. It came out. So was that
sorry,
2018?
the re-release would have been 2018, I believe.
2018, right? So it's been just under 5, maybe coming up. 5 years, 4 or 5 years since I played a Bayonetta game.
Yeah,
but played both of them, and then finally we got. Wasn't that long ago either, was it? It was like an update and with a release date, and they sort of let the world know it was there. And then bosh, here it is. And
I think they revealed it ages ago, and then we got nothing for, like you said, for a long time, and they just like you said, it seemed like it was a bit of a. They was like, right, it's ready now. Let's get it out there.
Yeah, sort of. Where was the other one? It was announced the same time as Metroid Prime 4, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they seemed to both be in like development hell, but there was nothing really said about this. It wasn't like, oh, we've restarted it or anything.
Metroid Prime 4 is still an unknown at this stage as we
it's
record
not
this.
even been sniffed. Unbelievable. But come out, got it on release date of all days. It was one of those ones I had pre-ordered for a decent price, and I didn't really anticipate playing. I think it was when I was playing Elden Ring still, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it came out, and I was like, I forgot about I've ordered that. And then it came, and I was like, I'll give it a go. Played it for a little bit, and it inevitably got its 2-week gap, sat on the sidelines. And then, just recently, I made the decision to cut all subscriptions and focus on my physical games.
Yeah.
And it sealed the deal and it gave it a good solid. And I think I was only about 3 hours in, and then, polished it off and played a bit of what it has to offer. So, I'm here to speak about it.
How long do you reckon it? I don't know if it's got a clock or anything to keep track of your saves, but how long do you think or know that you spent in it?
I spent 18 hours in the campaign, and then done a little bit of farting about with some other modes it had for about another 3 hours.
Nice.
So I'm on the 21-ish, 21, 22 cusp, I'd say.
Almost impossible for you to remember accurately, but is that about as long as the last 2 or longer?
No, that's longer. I feel the first one certainly was a lot. It was about 10 to 15 hours max.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about 10, 12. They was quite short because they're so high energy, high fucking fast paced craziness, and the stories. I don't think you could handle one for fucking 30 hours long because you're like, what's going on here? I forgot about this.
I'm exhausted.
And it was annoying as well in the first game. It was like the cutscenes were really weird. They were just like slides of images. It wasn't actual pre-rendered cutscenes mostly. It was had a couple, but it was a lot of like storytelling through pictures and this weird film. It was an odd decision. Glad to report they've been there and they've gone for actual cutscenes now.
Yes.
But this one's definitely slightly longer. It's definitely a bigger game.
Yeah. Just got how long to beat up, which is not. I'm always well off these. You add 5 hours to every game, and that's about accurate for me. First one, 11.5 hours. Second one, they're saying 9 hours is main story only.
Yeah, I remember. 2 was quite short actually, because I remember paying full price for it, playing it once,
going cool,
and then putting it down. I think, fuck it, I've just spent like 45 quid on 9 hours worth of gaming.
Wow. And they've got the third one ranking at 13 hours. And then
cool. So it's a slog for me.
Well, main plus extra at 17.5. So
there you go. I'll put 18, so that's more me, yeah.
That's more you. Again, who are these people sometimes? You've got to query it. I mean, it's useful data as a rough guide, I find, on how long to beat. But that's that. So look, I wanted to this is interesting just for the sake of it, since we've got a trilogy here. And I heard that they're happy to make another 9 games or something ridiculous. One of the developers said, and I was like, good God, if you're around for 9 games, I'd be surprised at your rate, Platinum, but we'll see how that goes. So on OpenCritic, Bayonetta OG 85, sound solid, lovely. Bayonetta 2 91. Game of the Year nominations coming out of its arse.
I have to replay it because I've seen after watching reviews and stuff, and there's so much hype for 2. I liked it. I really did like it, but I just remember liking 1 more. But
that's the one where I was like, oh, I might have to go and play these.
Yeah.
And then Bayonetta 3, no disgrace, back down to 85. So coming down of scores there, and that kind of called me off a little bit. I mean, 85 is still a great score. I don't know why that. Yeah. Oh, only an 85, and it's
only
called me off as it. Playing Callisto Protocol for fucking hours at 68, so these scores can't be trusted.
Exactly. No, that is true. Yeah. So. Yeah. Flat. Yeah, no, I'd agree. Well, mine would definitely be a bit more, but
so Bayo 1
would go up.
Yep.
I like from memory 2 would go down a little bit, but still pretty high.
Yep.
And then 3 would go whoop, another little bit lower.
Another bit lower. So it has
another bit lower.
Okay.
And it's just it was their decisions they made.
Their own decisions, Adkins. They can do what they want.
It is a bigger scope game. Like there are it's still a very linear game. There's no beaten track. Well, you can go off the beaten track to an extent, but it's big nooks and crannies. It's still point A to point B, kill what's in the way, and thing. But there's a little bit of exploration you can do, and you can pick up collectibles and But what they did is basically for the story. The story was it was fucking weird, and it was one of these multiverse.
Yeah, I heard
things.
I don't know the exact setup, but I mean, yeah, I've heard that that's where it delves into or kind of cuts its teeth, and I was a bit like, you know what? I'm not sure about this, but
I think it would be confusing to a player that's not played 1 and 2.
So you're saying if you're going to go into this, do 1 and 2 if you can.
Do 1 and 2, yeah, just to get because the story's so confusing as it is, because it's so Japanese and so confused. They really do go to town with like weird stuff. There's like there has been in every single game, but there's like dance scenes in the middle of the game. At the end, there's like a freaking, it's not a spoiler, but it's just they do it every game. It's like, honestly, there's like a video of them dancing, and it's about 10 minutes long, and you can't skip it. You know, you have to sit there watching them dancing. And I'm like, right, but yeah. So the story is very Japanese and very anime. And I don't know if it's just where I'm getting older, but I'm getting more and more sort of intolerable for the crazy weird. Just because I don't really watch it anymore.
No.
And it was like it's classic sort of multiverse tropes, like like we've had with the MCU, and there's been a few films with it in. It's been done better, I'd say, but
I hope so.
Yeah, so it worked quite well in a game setting because they could pull from different universes and whatnot. Yeah. The enemies, there's these new enemies called homunculi, which are these weird, like, man-made blob creatures that just sort of chop and change. And, yeah, they just come out of nowhere, and it's very all endgame and, Marvel endgame that is, very endgame-ish. But yeah, combat's incredible. Combat's really incredible. Like the best the series has ever been. There's this new system called Demon. I'm gonna blow it. It's been about 3 days and I've forgotten it already. Demon Slave, that's it.
Demon Slave.
It's because there was a similar feature in Devil May Cry 5. So I'm getting confused. But yeah, Demon Slayer. So basically, in the first games, you'd do your fucking combos, and then you'd get to you could do like a finisher, and it would be like your hair turns into a fucking demon and chomps the fucking enemies to death or whatever.
Aw.
In this one, there's some story about she has like a contract with them, and then it's weird because it's a different Bayonetta from a different universe. It doesn't work, so you can now control. So there's like a button. It's a bit like Astral Chain. Remember where you had your little companion and you could play with him at the same time while fighting, or you can do this with this. So you tickle the bollocks, so you can get the fucking demons to come out whilst you're fighting.
Yeah.
So the combat is...
Are they completely like individual? Like,
Yes.
You haven't got to worry about controlling them. You
No,
just chuck them out and
no,
they just
there's-
start to go to town on enemies.
There's some that do, yeah. There's some that I think you press like L on it, hold L down, and there's ones that you'll have to move around, and she just starts about. Or there's ones that that you can control and move, or you could just carry on and they'll just auto battle whatever's going on. But there's a lot. For every time you like go through a level, you end up with like go through the level, bit of story, loads of enemies, big boss, and then at the end of the boss you then get this either a new demon and also a new weapon that you then can choose from for your wheel, and you have two loadouts at the same time, so you can just press a button to switch between. But there's like a big clock wheel, and there must be gotta be at least sort of 10 or 12 different weapons or demons that you can collect throughout the game playthrough. So there's limited amount of fucking variations you can do and thing, but I still fucking was shit at it. I mean, the best I got a few platinum. I just that grading really.
So every encounter, every level, you get
every
graded.
single encounter. So like the way the levels work is like you have a level.
Yeah.
And then there's like chapters, but the chapters are basically an encounter.
Right.
So you'll go for a level. You can miss some. That's annoying. That
Oh.
really annoyed the fuck. So if you don't search an area, or there's these like little trial rooms that you go into, and it'll be like kill 10 enemies in 1 minute.
Yeah.
If you can't do that and you found that, you've then missed that chapter, so you won't get a little rank for it.
Can't you
And then
like
it
restart it or and try again?
You could restart it, I suppose, yeah, but then you have to start from the beginning
But of the entire level?
of the entire chapter, yeah, to get it. So if you go past it, you can't go back. You're like, fuck's sake. And then that detriments to your score. So like my average was a gold, but you've also got platinum and pure platinum. So I got a couple.
Do we need to introduce pure platinum to our system?
Could potentially. That is an absolute flawless masterpiece.
What the fuck's that pure platinum? What's
The pure platinum is not getting hit. That's a complete perfect thing. Not getting hit. I did achieve that once on one or two occasions.
We've
But
got a nice achievement on that on another console.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, that is annoying. There's no fucking trophies on there. But yeah, so but the ranking system fucked me off so much because I'd go through that. I'd be like, right, I'll get a platinum, then a gold, silver, gold. Overall, I'll get a silver.
Yeah.
I'll be like, for fuck's sake,
Getting dragged down.
It really does. Those silvers kill it. So that's really annoying. But in terms of combat, the best the game has seen. Story, serviceable, questionable.
Well, the other one's good story-wise. They're just noise to service the action.
Yeah, they were nice. It's all about the combat, these games, which for that is what brings the game. You know, this is why the game is getting the good scores, because its combat is so good. It's typical hack and slash. They've really perfected it. All but they do introduce a completely new character that they force you to play with.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And I am, unfortunately to say, she's a bag of fucking shit and the most annoying character. Basically, you never played the Devil May Cry games, have you?
No, I've seen a fair bit. But...
So you got like the main character, and then you sometimes play as like the character's brother, Virgil. This is basically their version of Virgil. So it's like a character that's similar in sort of what she does, but she plays completely different. So whereas like Bayonetta's all flipping around and she does all these like you can bullet time and all this and you can do all these fancy moves. This new one's like a witch in training, but she's got like a samurai sword, and so you can't bullet time by sort of dodging. You have to do like a parry with her sword.
Oh,
they found it so annoying that they've just recently patched it to make the timing.
Yeah, they've increased the
window.
window.
They have increased it. So and I did get to play a few chapters with the new patch, which it was slightly better, but overall she's 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 annoying to play. She's an annoying character. I didn't warm to her at all. I didn't care for her. And worst of all is they've made some terrible, terrible decisions regarding her in terms of the story. So
Right, okay.
that's definitely impacting the game. And so it's quite interesting to have a new character but
just not her.
Just not her. I don't know why they thought this
Does
is
she
a good
strip
idea.
off when you start pumping
Nah,
combo?
I think that's the reason why I hated her. She's too woke. She won't strip.
She won't strip on command. I don't want to
won't.
play this
That's
game
not
anymore.
I get they needed to change it up because there was some like fun modes in the first two games that once you completed it, you could unlock it with another character that's quite a fan favourite. And she played slightly different, but very only slightly different. Whereas this one is a complete different mechanic, and she still has a demon slave. She has like a cat that she sends out,
Yeah.
and then you turn into a boxer and you start punching everything. It is very different, but I just didn't warm to it.
To be fair, in a game that's called Bayonetta,
yeah, exactly.
you know what we're turning up for if a Bayonetta, not some understudy that's in training. So
Exactly that.
I can understand that being an irritation, especially if you won't strip. Bloody hell.
Exactly. I mean, that is pathetic, isn't it? But
In 2023 or whenever you're listening to this.
2023, yeah, believe it or not. But yeah, combat was incredible, very good. Yeah, story, meh. It was. I could see what they were going for. Grand in scope, serviceable, but it's classic multiverse tropes.
Yeah, nonsense.
Questionable, and the antagonist was meh. And just you're like, like I don't know. The stories have just been, and the characters have been much better. Yeah, it wasn't as fun, but yeah, what else? The game, the world, like the levels and stuff. There was some cool level design. But I took the other big thing about the game as well was its performance and presentation.
Yeah.
So that's another big part of the game. So
It's running on that potato. So
if this was on PC, this could be. It'd need a fucking HD boost, but this game could look like an absolute gold. Because 1 and 2, like 1 is a fucking brown mess. Like it's mud.
Colour palette's not very.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lovely game, brilliant game, runs perfect, but the fucking palette is just mud. Basically, that's what he's got. He's going, I want mud. 2, they really did go right. Let's make this gorgeous, and they used, they go to different landscapes.
Yeah.
It's all colours. It's lovely. 3 is gorgeous, but not on that fucking Switch. I've never seen worse AA ever. The old anti-aliasing. There's fucking jaggies everywhere.
Oh, no.
It's just the game is
Linneman's worst nightmare.
Linneman's last word. He has got this bob on. He said it's outpowered the Switch. This game. They've tried to max it out, and in doing so, they fucked it because it's glaring how poor it is. It runs like a pig because of how good it looks. So it's 60 FPS, which is nice to see, but there's hitches and fucking stutters all over the show. And yeah, textures are muddy because of how low res they have to be, because everything else is so nice.
Yeah.
They use this weird, like it's part of the enemies, they leave this like gas behind, but
Pete Gas.
It is Pete Gas turns up, and they like fill levels with it, and it just looks weird. They have this. Do you remember, like sometimes when you like go through an enemy, like you sort of would, when you like move the camera and you go into an enemy or inside yourself,
Yeah.
and you see that sort of checkerboardy, like weird. You can see like the fucking mechanics of how the game works.
Yeah.
There's so much of that in this game because the camera in this game is an absolute piss shithead as well. I am really shitting on this game now.
Shit.
It's a fish head. The camera work because there's these new demon slaves in it. The camera's zoomed out a bit more, but because they're fucking big monsters, the camera just gets stuck in after time. So
Stuck in them.
so you're like stuck in it, and you're fucking trying to fight and find all these enemies and send these fucking big beasts out and slappers with their tits out. You're like, go on, off you go. It's like some big slag that you can send out, and she does damage. but yeah, the camera gets stuck. It's tedious. It's annoying. Yeah, I really wanted to love this game, but because there is deep down that combat is fucking the best it's ever been. If you want to play a hack and slash game, this game is the one because it's the best combat. It's fucking incredible. There's a plethora of weapons and choices.
But
But
does the what's the frame rate like? Is that
so it's okay in. It seems to be okay in combat. Well,
my question was going to be: does the technical issues affect the gameplay a little bit?
it hinders. It does hinder it because I'd say it's like 60 FPS.
Most
70% of the time.
Right.
70%.
Wow.
So there's like moments. The thing with this game as well, which people have been slagging it, but I quite like it, is it takes the game right. You did play Nier, didn't you?
Yeah.
Nier Automata. Do you remember where that game that would like switch, and all of a sudden you'll be playing a different type of game? You'll be like, now I'm like isometric.
like some bullet hell thing.
That's it, exactly. Yeah. It does that a lot in this game, which is quite fun. There's like some cool stuff in it. There's these side missions you do, which are just another chapters, but it's like a 2D stealth game. It's like really weird. It's integral to the story.
Yeah.
But it's quite. People didn't like it because it broke the sort of rhythm of the game, but I quite liked it because it was something different.
Yes.
But yeah, there's lots of that. There's like a bit where you're fucking fighting, and it turns into like a sort of Street Fighter-esque Godzilla fight, and you're fucking playing that. Then you're fucking. There's lots of like them highway chases. You're going along. There's lots of that, and some of it's really fun and exciting. But there's a lot of that when them types of parts come in, it cuts down to 30 FPS, and you're like, fucking hell, what's going on here? Because there's so much shit going on at the screen at once, and they're going, yeah, this is going to be the best looking. I think what they've done is they saw that Pokemon fucking shit and were like, cool, we can't let it look like this. Let's make this the best looking game we can get. And they've gone for that photorealism, but that's the thing with this game just makes the switch. You just realise that that's so old took now and needs a revamp. It really does. It's a detriment to the poor Switch thing.
Making the games worse.
It's making the games. If this shut, I hope this did. It's annoying they never did it with 2, but if they does get even a fucking console release, that'd be nice.
Yeah,
I'd love to see this game in full 4K.
Nintendo unfortunately published the last 2. They sort of pulled it out of the fire. So
that is
unless Nintendo start putting a Sony and a PlayStation and putting their stuff on PC, which I would fucking adore.
Happily pay for. That
I
would
don't
be
think we're going to see
brilliant.
Bayonetta 3 or 2 appearing elsewhere, which is a shame. But if there's another Nintendo platform which is more powerful, maybe they could.
Yeah,
maybe naturally, if it's backwards compatibility, could like use at least get the frames up to like 99%. But
exactly
sounds like some of the other stuff they've done where you said they've pushed it and got the AA on there. That's going to have to be reworked, so it'll take.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that would definitely help this game. I think that's what it was lacking. It was, the combat alone is enough to carry this into fucking upper echelon scores because it is such fun and you're used to that type of game. The story for me, just was serviceable, but nothing. I was expecting more.
Soundtrack,
yes, soundtrack is good. It's still the same sort of thing. It's always been known for its. I don't know what sort of music. It's weird sort of fusion of jazz and dance and weird. No, music is top notch, very good. That sticks it, so that carries on with a plus.
difficulty.
Difficult.
All right, easy.
Difficulty
Hard to
was-
get the pure platinums for sure, but
That's the thing. I was trying to think of this the other day when I was like, how difficult is this? I didn't die much.
Yeah.
But I didn't score very well.
Yeah.
So it's easy to play, hard to master, I'd say.
Okay.
Because it's hard to be good at this game. You're ranked on combos, damage, time, and then it sort of melds it all together and gives you a score. So if you're absolutely ripping it, this is the annoying thing with the ranks. If you're absolutely ripping it up, you're changing all your fucking things, sending out these demons, doing combos, but you get whacked twice. You'll get like a gold for combos, a bronze for fucking
brand.
a brand for damage, damage, And then you'll get like a fucking silver overall, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then you just like, it just leads onto it, and then you're like, right, well, this is fucking toss, isn't it? So, yeah, story serviceable, combat fucking incredible, story meh, music brilliant, technicalities, needs work,
Needs
is a big
work.
hindering fact.
Interesting. Any other business?
Any other business? What you fucking doing, Platinum? You've ruined the series.
You've crapped on
No,
the
it's,
series.
they're taking it in a new direction. It seems like they're taking it broader as well because we've also, which is quite fun. I didn't realise this at the time. There was a thing in the game where there was like you basically have like a main menu, which you're quite like. It's like a big dartboard, and you throw your
some
darts
arrows
to
at
get
it.
to get to the next mission. But there's also little like posters in the room, and you can click on them, and it takes you to these different like end game modes and stuff. There's your typical horde mode and fucking all that to some hard bosses. But there's also what I didn't know is at the beginning there was this like hidden chapter. And you had to find, there's this book that is called The Hidden Chapter, and it was 3 keys you had to find within the game, and that unlocks a demo to, do you remember in the last Direct, there was a...
The Bayonetta Origins.
Bayonetta Origins, it was a demo to that, but no one knew what it was. But now, since that's been announced, they've just completely unlocked it and gone, I'll play it now.
Nice. Did you play that?
But I did, yes. Yeah, it's quite interesting.
It's completely different, isn't it?
It's completely different. Yeah, it's weird. Have you played it?
No,
is it?
no.
Oh, it's not. Maybe it's just on that game you can play it. But yeah, it's a weird. I mean, it looks like it's more story orientated and what they're going to go for. But yes, it'll be interesting to see. Like I say, it definitely looks like they're sort of opening up the franchise and they're going to try and appeal to other people other than sick perverts like myself that play this game for its fan service. But yeah, interesting. Overall, yeah. I had a good time. I liked it the more I played it. I think like I played those first 3 hours and I was like, yeah, it's more Bayonetta. I didn't play it and it didn't grip me by the bollards and say stick with this. That's why I put it down for a little bit.
Yeah.
Something else come along. I think it might have been fucking Callisto actually.
Ooh.
Something like that. I remember texting you saying, "Oh, I've got that in the backlog." Anyway, the more I played it, by the end of it, I really was like, "No, it is a good game. It is a good game." But overall, like I say, there was a lot that hindered it, and it wasn't the saviour I thought it was going to be.
No.
And it is down to a lot of changes and decisions they've made that people will disagree with me and they will enjoy, but me personally, I didn't like the changes and the direction they're going to go in and have gone in. So
Frightened him off. Well, let's see. Gaming gallery. We obviously enter into the reception area.
Yeah.
And there's no staff in today. Sort of got the run of it ourselves, so we can go where we want. Got the VIP bar upstairs that we can go to and just bin it off. Or we can take the time to walk over to your personal exhibition and display Bayonetta 3 alongside all the other games that you've deemed worthy on there.
I'm going to unlock the code. I'm going to unlock the door and kick it right in so it can go in.
It can go in.
What I'm going to do this is in the fashion of how the ranking system works.
Right.
And I'd go gold, 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 bronze, gold. So this, therefore, Bayonetta 3 gets a silver.
Gets itself a silver. Bayonetta 3. It's not... That's good enough.
It's not to be sniffed. I think it's worth a playthrough. If you've played the others, definitely play it because it's Bayonetta. You're gonna like it for the combat, the story. There's to enjoy the story. It's a fun play. But I don't know if for you now. If you said to me, can I borrow that and play it? I wouldn't recommend. I'd go right. No, don't. No, you can't do that. Go back and play 1 and 2 and realise how shit this third one is. No, it's not actually. It's not. It's really not. But it's not. It's the worst of the 3, I'd say.
Right.
Definitely worst of the 3 because of the mess story, the questionable performance, and the decisions they made with new characters and directions being taken.
Fair
So
enough.
yeah. Fair enough. But there's something there. There's something there for people.
There's something there for fans to get into, and not a particularly bloated game either.
Nah,
so
that's the
people
good thing. You could probably do it quicker than I did as well.
Yeah.
Because, like I say, there's one you could miss stuff. You can miss the chapters. You can just literally run to the end and miss half of it. If you can play it on. There's like casual. I did have a little go on that because I wanted to, because I was getting fucking silvers and it was pissing me off. I was like, you cunt. So I went back and I was like, oh, stick it on easy. We'll see if I'm really good now. And I think I'm not 100% sure. It probably is easy, but it felt exactly the same. But you don't get ranked, so you just get a purple little coin and it says completed.
Wow.
And I was like, that's better. I'd just rather do that. I
Yeah.
fucking hate that being judged on everything I do.
Yeah, every mistake you make's all
Exactly.
blown up and exposed.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah.
Lovely
That's fun.
jubbly. Bayonetta 3 Nintendo Switch. Silver from Adkins. It'll be forever sitting there in his exhibition inside the Dimp Digital Gaming Gallery. If you've made it this far, we thank you for listening and or watching. But there's nothing more for us to say here other than thanks for your time and ta-da.
This was a Dimp Digital production.